boys and girls, welcome back. So good to see you. Now, what we're going to do next is take a break from our color unit. And what I want to work on next with you is some winter projects. We are in the season of winter and we go from fall to winter, spring, then summer. We have 4 seasons. So we're going to be working on some winter projects coming up. And the first project that we're going to be doing is a winter cardinal. Now, a cardinal is one of those red birds that we still see in the wintertime. And what we're going to do is make our cardinal with our hand, and I'm going to paint it with you to give you something different to do. I know we've been doing a lot of drawing, but again, if you don't have paint, that's okay. You can still use crayons or markers or colored pencils. But if you wanted to do something different, where you wanted to use a different art material like paint, that's what we're going to do next. Okay, let's go get started. Hi boys and girls, and we are going to get started on our handprint cardinal and make our bird look like he's sitting on a snowy branch in the middle of winter. So for this project, what you're going to need is preferably a light blue background paper, or it could be any kind of blue, but the lighter blue would be best. And I also have some red paint, white paint, my brush, and I also have right here, this is my color stick, but you can use a crayon or a colored pencil or even marker if you have one too that is brown. Okay, so what we're going to start off with first is I need to paint my cardinal, and I'm going to use my hand for the cardinal itself. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to paint. Now I'm using my thumb is going to be the top of the cardinal's head. So when I go to paint this, I'm going to paint my right hand. I'm just going to go like that. And it's going to tickle a little bit when you do this. And I'm going to make sure I get nice and fully covered with red paint. Now make sure you're doing this carefully, guys. Make sure if you have the red paint, you are wearing a smock, your table is covered, so you're not getting paint anywhere else but your paper. Okay, so I'm going to paint my hand like so. And now when I print it down, this is almost like a form of printmaking as well. I'm making a hand print. Okay. Like I said, the top of our cardinal's head is going to be made with my thumb. Now, my hands are big, so I want to show that my bird is closer, and things that are close are big. So I'm going to put my handprint a little bit lower towards the bottom of my paper. And I'm going to simply press it down like that. Okay. Now, okay, now if it doesn't come out fully like that, you could always go back and you could touch it up with your brush. So I could just tap, tap, tap my brush very lightly, or you could try and print it again. But if you're going to try and print it again, you have to make sure that you line it up perfectly in order for it to come out. Okay, so that one came out much better. So if I just go back and press it down, this might come out a little bit better now. Like I said, oh, much better. Now my center though is the way my hand was formed. I need to go and use my brush to touch, 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 just tap it down and paint my area in, okay? And maybe I'll do this as well. I could even do this with my finger a little bit. Okay, so that is my first bird, and I'm going to paint another one. Now, again, your hands are smaller, so you might be able to fit 3 on the paper if you'd like, but I am only going to be able to fit 2. And I'm doing my other hand now because I'm going to make it look like my bird is facing in the other direction. So I have to paint my other hand. If you're going to do 2 birds facing the same direction, then you can paint the same hand twice. Just make sure you refresh that paint. Okay, see I'm doing that. Perfect. And now I'm going to press my hand down this way. So actually on this one, I should have put my thumb up a little bit because like I said, this is going to be the top of the bird's head, the crest, his crest. And I'm going to make that stand up a little bit like that. Okay, so I'm going to print that again. And if I need to fix it up, again, I'll go back and touch up with my paint. Okay, I'm gonna need to stop the video for a second so I could go wash my hands and let this dry a little bit, and then I'll show you the next part. I'm just going to show you very quickly for those of you who may not be painting. If you don't have paint or you can't get paint, that's okay. I told you that you could still do this with a crayon or a marker. I'm only going to do one hand just to show you quickly how you can still do this even if you don't have paint. So I would take my red and I would trace around my hand with I'm using a color stick. Again, on that blue paper, if you have it. If you don't have it, then you could do white. And I'm going to trace my hand around like so, and then I would color it in. And then this is similar to how I just did with the paint, and we can continue from there. So what we're going to do next, after my hands have dried, it's still wet in some spots, but I can still do the next part. And this is going to be the black part of the face of our cardinal. So it's almost going to look like a triangle. So I'm going to come with a diagonal line that comes in on a diagonal there, and then I'm going to come down, and then it's going to go around the edge of my hand like so. So it kind of looks like a triangle, and then you're going to fill it in. Now, if you're painting and you have black paint, you can still use and do this in paint. If you don't have black paint, then you could see I'm using a marker right now. And if you're drawing this entirely with crayon or the colored pencil, then you can just color it in with your black. Okay, so I'm going to do my faces for the cardinal here. Fill that in like so. And I'll do the other one in a minute, but I just want to show you, I already did it too with my coloring one. I'm also going to go now and do the beak. So you could see that I used a triangle shape also for my beak, and I used the orange color stick. And if you'd like to use a crayon or a colored pencil, that's fine. Again, if you have orange paint, then you can paint that with orange as well. I'm going to go now with my next part and make the eye for my cardinal. Now my eye has to be done with some white. Because now I'm showing this one with the coloring, a crayon, a white crayon would be very hard to show up onto the black. It really won't show up that well. Maybe if you have a color stick or a construction color crayon at home, it might, but paint would work the best for this. Or maybe you could find something else that would show up with the on top of the black with the white. But I'm going to use the white paint now to make my eye. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make the white of it. And I don't want to make it too thick because I don't want it to take too long to dry. So I'm just simply going to go in and put my white paint there for that one. And I'm also going to do the same for my others. Now, this one did show up a little bit when I did it with my white color stick. I'll show you what that looks like. But again, it's a little dull and faded and you can't see it as bright, but maybe it'll work for you depending on what you use. So you can see that, but again, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to go over it with my white paint instead so it stands out. And I'm just going to make a little bit of an oval that's right above the beak. Okay, it has to be in this black area, but it's right above the beak. And if it fades out because the black, it's absorbing, you can see like that. Once this is dry, I'm going to go in and put a tiny little black dot for the eyeball of my cardinal. Okay, now that my cardinals are finished, I need to go and make the tree branches. I have to make it look like the cardinals are standing on something. So if I were you, I would take a regular pencil first and maybe kind of lightly draw so you know exactly where you want to put your paint, or if you're using a crayon to color. I am starting with a line like this, and I'm coming up. Now, you want to give it a little bit of space, a little bit away so you can see the legs a little bit. And again, my hands are very big, so it's taking up a lot of room. If you're doing this, I'm sure your hands are way smaller than mine. You will have more room to put your tree branches and see more of it. I'm going to make it look like we only see the end of the tree branch. So if this is the top part of the tree, the branch would be wider on the side, because on the side over here, I would have the trunk of the tree where the branch is attached to. So it's wider over here, but then as it comes up closer to the cardinal, my tree branch comes together and gets closer, like so. So that is the first part of my tree branch here. This cardinal is blocking the rest of it. So I can't continue it any further. I can maybe make it extend in the back, but I think that's good enough for now. My cardinal that's over here, I'm going to, again, start at the very edge of my paper. With my regular pencil, I'm going to draw it out first. And now I have more space over here. So just like when we did our fall trees and we made our trees already with the branches, we're going to use the letter V. So my V, though, looks like it's on its side. Okay, if I hold it like that, see how it looks like a V? And my tree branch is actually split into other little branches. So it makes it look a little bit more interesting. Now, again, I don't want to leave it pointy. My tree branches are not pointy at the ends. I have a little bit of an opening here. It could come close together, and as I bring the bottom of the branch down to the bottom of my paper, I'm going to stop it right there. So there is my second branch that my bird will be standing on. I'm going to do the same thing for my other one. Okay, once again, my branch is wider at the end, and this one, since I only have one, I can make my tree branch come in, and I can go on the side over here. And really, any kind of crooked line makes it look very interesting and detailed. Okay? And I'm going to just have it come like that. Now what I need to do is go and paint this in. If you're choosing to use paint, you would have, and you have brown paint, you can take your paintbrush, a thinner paintbrush, and paint that in. Just be careful, and actually what I should have is a scrap paper underneath so I don't get any marks on my table, especially when I'm painting near the end of something. And I want to make sure I go in this horizontal direction, and I would paint right up to, when I press down the bristles, on the bristles are the little hairs of my brush, I want to make sure I press it down so that the bristles touch my pencil line and kind of cover it up. When I lift up on the brush, I'm not applying a lot of pressure, so then I could get thinner lines. Sorry, let me move that so you could see that better. Okay, so I would hold it up, more upward, and then I could have thinner lines like that. Okay, and I would paint in my tree branch. I will also show you what this looks like when I color. Here is my branch now that I had colored in with my coloring paper, and here is my branches that I now painted and I let dry. Our final step now is to make it look like a snowy day. Like I said before, cardinals hang out in the wintertime. They still stick around. So what we're going to do is take a thin brush now, once again, and I'm going to dip it into my white paint, and I'm going to make it look like the snow is coming down, falling onto the top of the tree branch. So I'm not going to go and put paint underneath anywhere, because the snow doesn't stay underneath. It would just rest on the top. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just lightly going to tap, tap, tap my snow. If you want to drag it across, you could, but it really won't look as realistic if you drag it across. But you're going to tap, tap, tap your brush, and you're going, if you lay it on its side a little bit more, then you can get a little bit, cover more area, and it's going to rest, like I said, right on the top of the branch, and in between here it would rest on the top inside part as well. So I'm going to go in and do that for my tree branches, all my tree branches. I'm going to speed up the video to show you that, and also to show you how it looks like the snow is falling. I'm going to actually, you could take your brush, or I should just show you right now. I could take my brush and I can just make, now you don't want to get too crazy with this. Remember, it's not a blizzard, so you don't want to cover everything up, but you can go with your paintbrush and make these little snowflakes with little dots going around. And it would look very random all over. Snow doesn't fall in a perfect line, so I shouldn't see dots going across in perfect straight lines or coming down in a perfect line. They would be random all over, and some might be bigger, some might be smaller. If you want to do it with your paintbrush, you can do that, or if you want to take your pinky even, you could dip your finger into the paint, like I said, maybe just your pinky, and then you can have some other larger snowflakes in between the other ones. Actually, what you might even want to do too, you could even do this. You can tap it onto the tree branch. You can have so much fun with this, boys and girls. There's endless possibilities of how you make your creation and how to have fun with this and make it look real. You just don't want to get too carried away. If you start doing too much, then it's not going to look realistic. So I am going to, I like how this actually really looks with my finger. Kind of has my fingerprint in there. I could drag it along. So see, as you go along, you'll discover new things. So I'm going to go in and I am going to finish my snow on my paper. Now, if you're doing it with crayon, you could try to use your crayon. That's why I wanted you to use a blue paper. If you're doing this on a white paper, then it would be very hard to see white snow on a white paper. So if you have blue paper, you can go in and you can take maybe a white crayon if you have it, or white colored pencil, and I would go in this motion like little swirls or circles and color on top. You can do something like that as well. And again, if maybe you do have only white paint at home or some other kind of material, maybe you can add that. If you're still doing a colored paper, you can mix it up and do something as well. But again, if you have only crayon, that's fine. Try your best and see if it fits. Will work on your And there you have it. There is your cardinals on your snowy winter branches. Finally, one last other thing is to make the legs of your cardinal. And all you simply have to do is, I would do this with a black colored pencil or a black crayon. You want to just outline it, or if you don't have black, then you can just use your pencil. But you want to draw the legs of your cardinal that look like it's resting on the branch. And that's it. I guess let me show you. This one is my painted version. And again, this one is the coloring version. Either one is fine with me. I can't wait to see what you all create, your cute little cardinal hands in your little snowy, wintry day. All right, everybody, looking forward to seeing everything, and good luck. I hope you have fun doing your painting, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.